Growing up, I had two great loves: video games and books. And my favorite book was The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. I grew up in a large Christian family. My mom was a Sunday school teacher and my dad was a deacon. And when you grow up in that kind of environment, you kind of know Christian stories as a matter of course. The disciples were in a boat and it was storming and Jesus was sleeping and then he woke up and saved them. It just is a matter of fact. And it's so divorced from the reality that you know, it's difficult to really care. In the story, Edmund is a snot who is a jerk to his siblings and he sells them out for candy. And I could relate to that. Like, it's a morbid thought, but I really saw a lot of myself in Edmund. Edmund was my favorite character in the book. And when Aslan, who is this book's version of Christ, gives himself up to buy Edmund's freedom, he is so sad. He is heavy with the fact that he is going to die for this kid's sake. But he does it. And that was really powerful for me as a kid. I remember realizing that Jesus didn't die because his disciples were idiots. When I was 9 years old, I made my official profession to Christ between me and God. Now, there would be more official examples of that as the years went on, but I became a Christian at 9. I didn't become a Christian because of the stories I went growing up or because I went to Sunday school every week. I became a Christian because of a book, because of a story.
That kind of thing doesn't happen in video games. It's not just about production quality. No. It never was. So there I was, 13 years old, holding a cartridge for the Chronicles of Narnia video game for the Game Boy Advanced. It's fascinating how a game can follow the exact story and make every story point infinitely less impactful. In Narnia, things happen to the protagonists, and they respond. Peter, winning his first battle and being named the Wolfsbane was a big deal because everything up to then had been running. In the game, Peter has a stick from day one, and he can kill enemies with it. So, it's not that the game is bad, it's rather good fanfiction. People like Edmund, right? So Edmund gets entire sections of the gameplay where he sneaks around the White Witch's castle and rescues animals. But the entire point of Edmund's character is that he's a disgusting snot with no redeeming value. That's why his redemption is such a big deal. The story simultaneously wants exciting moments of gameplay and then is constrained by the story beats it has to follow, doing neither one well. Needless to say, C.S. Lewis is not going to be revolutionizing the game sphere anytime soon, and neither is Christianity, because its reenactment of the Bible has all the same problems. So many of these games are more in love with talking about Christianity than about being Christians.
I do not need your armor. God will protect me.
King Saul and the Israelite army had assembled in the valley of Elah. They pitched camp near Pastebin. The Philistines occupied one hill, and the Israelites on his legs he wore a valley between them. He stood and over 9 javelins and wore a bronze helmet on his head, and wore a coat of scale armor, and his iron point weighed 15 pounds alone.
Bible.
I also decided to write down an orderly report of exactly what happened. I am doing this for you.
Learn from the dream.
Good fanfiction. It merely rehashes what other people have done better, and certainly doesn't take advantage of the medium. A game about Narnia is only 50% of the way there. You have to have the gameplay agree with it. Otherwise, it's just a bad game! Some may call this ludonarrative dissonance, the act of story and gameplay being at odds. But I think it's more than that. It's a mindset that if a story is merely Christian, it will be good for people. Like the quality of the message doesn't matter so long as the person is exposed to Christianity. And here's the thing, it doesn't stop at Bible games. A fun game invoking angels, Pilgrim's Progress, and heck, even Narnia, doesn't do jack diddly squat if it doesn't lead to something. At least a Bible game is educational, and if done right, can be a proper interactive Sunday school. Especially if you go to great length to be as historically accurate as possible. See this right here? This game has my respect. But even then, it's not going to be winning souls. And if that's not your goal, that's perfectly fine. But it kind of feels like no one wants to take that goal. If I had to describe Christian games in one word, it would be fearful. Fearful of being preachy, fearful of deviating from popular formulas, fearful of getting singled out. Because if you get singled out, you get judged. You don't want to be the next Bible Adventures, do you? What you end up with is a messy, disjointed clone of an existing game with a bit of Bible slapped on top. And it's not a good message. Stop treating religion like a textbook. What am I listening to you for?
Farmer Bill plays building blocks with the cows.
What?
That Dragon Cancer is Watching Your Toddler Die, the game. And it is captivating. Maybe because Joel was a real child. Maybe because the pacing was spot on. Or maybe because, after listening, I finally get it.
There's a story in the Bible where Jesus and his disciples are on a boat. And a furious storm hits the sea, and everyone thinks they're gonna die. And where do you think Jesus is? He's asleep in the back of the boat.
I know what 12 people in a boat looks like. It's how it feels that I never got. Like your entire world is dying, and God doesn't even seem to care. Christianity shouldn't copy secular games because that's how pandering works. No, make something only Christianity would be about. Indie audiences gravitate towards characters dealing with internal struggles. Start where great games do, from your own ideas. So, some ground rules. First, no power fantasies. The health and wealth gospel has done enough damage already. We don't need some God will fix all your problems message. He's not a tame lion. Second, God can't be some backroom resistance leader. We can do better than that. God can be a prophecy giver, a Christ figure, or even a disembodied voice, but make him something. In fact, any Christian story that doesn't incorporate God in some way is doomed to r/whoosh. Lord of the Rings is proof of that. And lastly, we need a specific message or theme. It can be faith, betrayal, doubt, or heck, even love. But choose something the player should walk away with. Don't just dope up on sweet locales and go, wow, cool Christianity. So, where do we start?
What is one of the oldest genres in video games? That's right, the RPG, the role-playing game, which to me sounds like a very positive thing for us to put a Christian character into. Screw relating to Edmund, how about I actually be Edmund? Now, Japanese games really like the Catholic aesthetic, because it is a really good aesthetic. And so whenever you have a healing character, they're usually a Catholic priest, or a cleric, or some member of the Catholic clergy. And usually most RPGs and Japanese RPGs kind of smooth over this fact by inventing a religion that looks exactly like Christianity, but it's not actually Christian. Or they just don't mention it. But just make them Catholic. Just make the healer Catholic and you're done. You have made a Christian character with any sort of personal issues, and it's just a thing. I've only ever seen this done once, and to this day, I'm not even sure if the creator is Christian. The game's a lot more concerned with carving out a furry game niche, but they just dropped this amazing Christian character as one of the heroes, and I love him so much. Frumpty is great. He is an irritable, flawed human being trying to do right by his faith.
Second, what are the game's verbs? Grind? Quest? Fight? Is that the kind of story you are trying to tell? We can keep them, for sure, but the narrative shouldn't revolve around killing. It should revolve around Christianity, shouldn't it? So, how about this? Pray.
You know how, like, in every RPG you can talk to shopkeepers and learn, like, local secrets and quests and gossip? Like, why can't there just be an option called, do you have prayer requests? And then, maybe the shopkeeper does have prayer requests. Maybe they're going through some things. And maybe you have a very personal quest. That would be a very informal way of introducing quests to a JRPG. Without, being like, hey, I'm a protagonist. Tell me things to do. It could just be a very human form of that. And in fact, the game could even talk about, like, what does prayer do? Can you also, in the, like, main hub world, just have the points where you pray and just, like, answer to different prayer requests? Does that affect the ending? Does that affect anything? Does God actually respond to prayers? He already knows what your prayer requests are, so do you really have to pray? And it would be really great to see that in a game that you are interacting with. Not just when you're reading, but playing as. So maybe you could see what it's like if you do, and then see what it's like when you don't. One game I think would be really cool would be following a monastery during a zombie apocalypse. Because the zombie apocalypse genre is always taking this idea of, like, these monsters in the world and then spinning on its head and saying humans are the real monsters. Because what's hard about surviving in the wilderness is other people. The zombies are just dumb and stupid and slow. But even though that is a modern sentiment based on just how terrible life is, Christianity has always flown in the face of that, because Christianity talks about how people are valuable. Have you ever thought about how, like, God could have just made the angels do all of the preaching for him? Like, after Jesus died and did his thing and he saved the world, and he was just like, okay, disciples, you just sit there. I'm going to have all the angels tell everybody that I'm alive now. But he didn't. That's not what happened. God decided that people are valuable enough and good enough to preach. And I think that would be a fantastic way of responding to modern issues and modern genres and themes in a Christian light. People aren't the enemy. People are people. People are respected as human beings and should be loved and cared for, because no one is beyond saving. That would be a legitimately Christian game rather than just a reenactment of David fighting Goliath, because it would cover real Christian issues that are personal, that the modern generation struggle with.
The long and short of it is this. Christian games need to be more. Not just fan service, and not just a game with Christian icons. No, we need games about Christian struggles. We need to show what's unique about our faith, and modern games fail to do this.
So, someone I respect very much once told me, your purpose is where your skill set meets the world's hunger. And my skill set is that I am a gameplay programmer. Gameplay programmers make games so that players can feel things in every given moment.
Music, art, story, and gameplay work together to make you feel unstoppable. Your character must be intuitive and responsive enough to flow. And if you want to feel like the underdog, well, you can't be the next Chuck Norris.
I want to make games that aren't just appealing to the concerned Christian parent wanting something nice for their kids. I want to make games that stand on the global stage on their own merits and are filled with heart. I want to make games with teeth.
hopes and dreams aside, making games takes a long time, and I'm currently tied up in some non-Christian projects I plan on publishing. So, I'm not exactly ready to take next steps, but I hope to continue building this platform to drop updates when I do get on it. And I hope you'll be there when I do.
So, it's not exactly trash, but thanks for watching.